Hello my lovelies, today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I will try and link the original creators in the description, but all the videos I've seen of this who have linked the original creators, the video link isn't working, so I don't know what's gone on, but I'll try and figure that one out. It is July, so just after mid-year really, but I thought it'd be fun to do the first ever tag on this channel. The first question is the best book you've read so far in 2019, and that has got to be A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Virginia Kemmerer. This is going to be one of my favourite books of all time so far that I've ever read. I loved this as a Beauty and the Beast retelling. The story had brilliant pacing, it blended really nicely with the fantasy world with the real world. It had lovely little hints of a bigger world to be expanded out, brilliantly diverse characters. I just really loved this book, and if you saw my June Reads video you knew I raved about it. It definitely is a massive rival for A Court of Thorns and Roses as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I think as a retelling I love this book even more, so this has got to be one of my favourite books I've ever read so far, and I'm dying to get the sequel, which comes out in January. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2019, and that's got to be the sequel to The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which is The Wicked King. I do not own my own copy of this yet because paperback has not yet been released in the UK, so I borrowed a hardback copy off one of my friends, and it was so good. I really loved that book. I loved it even more than book one, so definitely well worth a read for the Folk of Air series by Holly Black. Definitely within the range of genre range of A Curse So Dark and Lonely as well. So I really loved The Wicked King. Probably one of my favourite reads of that month, which I think was February. My favourite read of that month, definitely. So one of my favourite reads I read this year, but not quite as good as A Curse So Dark and Lonely, but very close. The third question is a new release that you haven't read yet but really want to, and that is got to be The Pride of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is one massive chunky fantasy book, but I'm so excited to have a standalone fantasy. I love high fantasy books, but there's also a lot of commitment to fantasy books because of series like Throne of Glass and Court of Thorns and Roses, Game of Thrones. There's a lot of commitment to fantasy a lot of the time, whereas this is over and done with its own 800 pages, well, very chunky 800 pages, but I've heard so many good things about it. I was going to hang fire for the paperback, but because it's going to be on its own, I got it in hardback, and I could not wait to get it, even though I knew I wasn't going to have time to sit down and read this 800 page boy yet, but so excited about this book. Question 4, most anticipated release for the second half of 2019. I'm between two books for this, maybe 3. We Hunt the Flame is coming out in August, but for the very later half of the year I've got to say Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is going to be the third book in the Folk of Air series. I'm so dying to read that, and it's going to come out in hardback again, isn't it? And I'm going to have to borrow it as hardback again because I've already committed to paperback. But I think Queen of Nothing by Holly Black is my most anticipated release, especially with the way The Wicked King book 2 ended on such a massive twists that I can't wait to get my hands on that book. Question 5, biggest disappointment, and I think I'm going to have to say The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, and this is because it didn't stick to its guns with its premise. I really love that somebody is finally telling the women's stories of the battles of Troy, but it didn't stick to its guns and completely have this whole book written by women's perspectives. It had a lot of chapters from the middle towards the end from Achilles' perspective, and I get that it's doing something new with Achilles. It's not showing him in a very unflattering light, but it really took away from the message of the book that it's the women's stories that need to be told, and I was just disappointed by the fact that it wasn't all written from the perspective of women, and the Achilles sections were just so dry and boring that I was just willing it to get back to the women. So I'm disappointed by this book, even though it's still doing a powerful thing and it does so well in the first section, I think, but it just trailed off into something that I wasn't enjoying towards the end, so I was just disappointed by the way this book went. Question 6, biggest surprise, and that has got to be the first volume of Assassination Classroom. This is because I haven't really picked up many mangas, and I was so pleasantly surprised by how much I really loved it. I also didn't know whether the pacing of mangas was going to be my thing, but oh my god, it was just so good and so unusual of a premise, because it's about this alien being coming to Earth with immense power, enough power to destroy the Earth, and he's threatening to do so unless the students that he wants to teach assassinate him first. And it turns out he's actually such a really good teacher. So it's bonkers premise, and I was surprised by how much it actually worked and how much I enjoyed the manga style of it. So that was definitely my biggest surprise of the year. Favourite new author, and that has got to be for me Holly Black. She's not a new author in the sense that she's been writing for quite a while, but she's new to me. And I finished The Cool Prince in January and then finished The Wicked King in February, and I absolutely love the writing style and the world that she's been putting together. I need to look into getting into more Holly Black books, but this series has definitely put her on my radar as one of my new favourite authors. Another author that is new to me is Marissa Meyer, and I really loved reading Heartless, and I definitely want to get to the other Marissa Meyer books that I've had on my shelf and not got around to. But it also links back into question 7 and newest character crush, and I've got to be between Carden in the Folk of Air series, because he's so nice, and Jest in the Heartless series, and they're two very different characters. One's manipulator and the other one's trying to do good, but also in a trickery way. And I've got a thing for characters with black hair. That's what I've discovered. I've got a thing for male characters that have long black hair. Question 9, newest favourite character, and this one's a tricky one because I have quite a few new favourite characters, all my favourites for different reasons. I really liked Lara Jean because I related to her wanting to have like vintage and cute things and reading about romance, loving romance, but not actually wanting to act on it, so I related to that a lot. I also really liked Harper from A Curse So Dark and Lonely, a completely new type of character, really strong woman who is also a protagonist with cerebral palsy. I love the way she's portrayed in this. I love that there's nothing straightforward about her. But I think Throne Glass has got to take it for me, and it's either between Elide, because I really like Elide a lot, or Lorcan, and them two together are probably one of my favourite characters ever written. Them two together are just so good, and it's why this tore my heart out at the end. But reading in Empire of Storms, the way Lorcan and Elide interact just made them two of my favourite characters, because I didn't really like Lorcan that much. Well, I liked him, but I didn't feel anything much for him in Queen of Shadows. But put him with Elide in this book and give him his own like individual chapters to follow, and it's just those two together. So Elide and Lorcan, maybe more Elide is my favourite character, new character so far. But my favourite ever Throne of Glass character has got to be Man on Blackbeak, because come on, witches. Number 10, book that made you cry, and I don't think there's been a book that's made me weep so far this year. I haven't read anything particularly sad, but I have read things that are traumatising, and Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas is one of them. There are so many twists and turns in this book. There's so many brutal, emotional things that happen in it that I think I did cry at some point. Not like a weeping type of crying, but this is probably either the closest I've got to crying or definitely did cry for this book. The next question is book that made you happy, and I think I'm going to have to go To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I don't usually like romance books on their own. I usually like my romance to be mixed in with some sort of fantasy, but I just gave into the escapism of this and I binged through it, and I was just really happy while reading about these really cute things. So I think To All the Boys I Loved Before made me really happy in a very unexpected way. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought this year, and it's between two, and I think The Priory of the Orange Tree, because oh come on, how stunning is that? And there's also some really gorgeous maps and stuff in it. I mean, that is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's just stunning. I really, really love the cover of this book and the way that the dragon shines and the contrast of the blue and orange. I just think this is so stunning, which is one of the things that drew it to me before I read the blurb, because dragons. And the other book that I think is really pretty, which is unusual because I don't really like yellows and oranges, but the two most pretty books I bought this year are yellow and orange, and I just think that Puck of Pook's Hill by Rudyard Kipling, the Macmillan cover of it, is so lovely. I love the shine on it, and Rewards and Fairies is going to be orange with the same sort of shiny decoration, whilst having the drawing of the front that represents the art that's in it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, because this is a Macmillan book, that this might be the same illustrator as Heartless. Let's have a look. These two are the same illustrator, which makes so much sense because Heartless is another very pretty book as well. But yes, I love this sort of style of the shine on the books. I think it's so gorgeous. And also A Curse So Dark and Lonely. That's another shiny book that might be so pretty, but the Priory of the Orange Tree just has such beautiful decorations in it, and I love dragons. Final question is books you need to read by the end of the year, and I've got some holidays TBR video audio if you want to watch something more in depth, but there are definitely certain books that I definitely need to get read. Tower of Dawn, which I'm in the middle of right now, I definitely need to read, as well as Kingdom of Ash. Kingdom of Ash is my priority book for this summer. I also want to read the Rosewood Chronicles because I've read book 1. I want to reread it and then read book 2 ready for book 3 release in September. I also really want to get read the His Dark Materials trilogy at some point before like my birthday, because it's on my 20 before 20 that turned into 20 before 21. It's a whole thing. I'll make a video or blog post on it at some point. So the His Dark Materials trilogy, Rosewood Chronicles, and the End of the Throne of Glass series of books that I definitely need to get read this year. I think probably Queen of Nothing, if I can get my hands on a copy, that I definitely want to get that one read. And I think that's it for my priorities. So thank you for watching, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.